Okay, so to remove the caliper from the front brake assembly is a T55 Torx bit socket for the two pins that thread into the caliper and go off into the caliper bracket. Once you get them loose, should be pretty loose to just thread out by hand. And they're just two long pins that go into the caliper bracket. You slide them off. You should be able to pry out the caliper. With the caliper off, you can see the two 18mm bolts that hold on the caliper bracket that houses the pads. 18mm ratchet wrench makes quick work of this. And not a good view of it, but I kind of try to show how I can use two wrenches to get the leverage to remove these. Put the box end on the open end side of the wrench, and you double its length on whatever wrench you're using. Increasing your leverage and make it able to take the bolt out with ease. Again, 18mm ratchet wrench makes quick work of this. Okay, so to remove the rotor, give a couple of hammer taps if it's stuck on in between the studs. A couple of quick hits will usually make this thing come right off. Now you're going to want to make sure you clean your hub surface. In this case, there's a new bearing actually on there. And you want to clean your brake rotor with appropriate brake parts cleaner to get all the oil film for shipping, to keep them from rusting all cleaned off, because it's not good for your brakes. I just run a nut on just to keep it in place while I'm assembling stuff. Just makes it easier, not necessary. Now we're going to go back to the caliper bracket assembly. Got these little slide clips on. If you're going to reuse them, keep them on, just clean them up with a wire brush. I, however, have new ones supplied with my new brake pads. Just taking a small screwdriver, you can pop them right off. Sometimes they want to be stubborn, sometimes they pop right off. Throw those to the side. I kind of scrub any large scale rust off. You just want to make sure they're clean before you put your new ones on, otherwise it'll press out against the brake pad and actually cause a little stubborn brake actuation. So that's why in this case you can see that I'm scrubbing the bracket down with a metal file, getting all that scale rust off. Makes quick work of it. Just make sure you get all the edges that the metal is going to be touching. Now that it's all clean, we're actually going to go ahead and get our brake pads out. I usually just set the brake pads on some kind of cloth. In this case, I have an old shirt laying around. Not really absolutely needed, but I just don't like to lay them on a dirty workbench. Using synthetic Caliper slide grease, and this is a all covering. This is meant to be put on the back of the pads, and anywhere that the contact of the brake pad is going to come against metal. And this just keeps your brakes from squealing and helps some heat resistance in them. So here's your new guide pieces, and they can be a little stubborn to get on, but just press them straight on and they should clip. If they're not going on easy, you got some more rust removal to do. Sometimes these aftermarket ones sit kind of funny, so I just want to make sure that they are on there. And you're going to put some of your caliper slide grease on these just because that's where the pads actually slide back and forth. So you want to make sure nothing rusts and gets a hold of them there. Now, you can do this on the car, but I find it just a little bit easier to do it with the bracket off, because sometimes these things don't fit right. If they don't fit right, sometimes I found that the aftermarket pads, you actually need to file the inner part of the pad out to make sure that they fit along. But as you see, this one went right in. Just slide the other one in as so. Then they're kind of in there. And you can easily just put it on over the rotor. Get your two 18mm bolts, put those back in. Once you get them started, just start wrenching them back in. Again, ratchet wrenches. They are fantastic for stuff like this if you don't have air tools. Let's get the top one snug. Do both of them. Using the double wrench technique to make sure these things are tight. Slide your pads together. And now we have the caliper, which needs to be, pistons need to be pressed back in. I use a brake pad to put on top. Sorry, it's not in the camera view, but I put one of the old brake pads against the pistons, like so. And just a big C-clamp if you don't have the spreader tool or anything with you. And just evenly force the pistons back into their homes. Now, a lot of people will tell you to open up the brake bleeder or anything like that. I just don't do that. Never had an issue with it. So you're going to slide the caliper over the brake assembly. And these rubber boots will want to walk crooked on you. But sometimes you can just get them straight, but you'll be able to use the guide pin to get them in. So there's the caliper guide pin. You're going to put some of your caliper slide grease on those.
I'm a little generous on these, but you get some that'll squeeze out of the boots. You don't want to make a total mess. Do use the T55 socket. You're just going to want to send
Then that small part will be able to get right into that rubber boot. Start threading those in. Use your T55 socket to get those in.
And these do thread into the caliper, not anything in here, as you may have seen. So you don't need to worry about.
Make sure they are greased and not fighting you back. So now with the caliper all together, is done. And when you're done with any of your brake jobs, whatever you're replacing, once everything is together, nothing is free, you're going to go and pump your brakes so that you have brake pressure. If you don't do this, you'll have no brakes. So first the pedal will go to the floor a couple times. Once you have pressure again, then the calipers have seated, and you're good to go. You just put the wheels back on, torque them down. And eventually your pedal feel will come back. You check your brake fluid after you're done with this too, to make sure the level's not too high or too low. Good thing is to check your brake fluid level at this point.
Yeah, I'm Joe the Other Guy. Thanks for watching this video. Hope it helped you. Please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and my email's down below.